the drag and drop exercise. We're going to do this together. And after that, we're going to focusing on how to fill out the application itself and what are the key examples actually being gathered for today. So that will be the majority of the discussion. Now, in terms of the drag and drop, as Otan also mentioned, she got 1. Now, normally people get between 1 to 3. So that's something we still need to kind of practice. Overall, this can be time consuming, which you might hear me saying that. And then on top of that, you need to make this 100% to ensure you get 1 question equivalently scored. Now, today's assignment is going to be that we going back to the waterfall world, and we have the big building blocks of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. And we need to add or move processes, inputs or outputs into the right place where those are happening in terms of the big building blocks. Now, normally we have a couple of volunteers who is willing to help me out. So if there is any brave volunteer who would like to get started and maybe do 2 or 3 of this, matching the orange boxes right next to the processes, it will be super awesome. So is there any brave volunteer? If so, you can raise your hand or you can straight unmute yourself and we can get started. Or in that case, I will just simply get started and I will ask you guys so you can put into the chat that where each item will belong to. Now, the first one is going to be rolling wave planning. Now, I'm not going to tell you surprises. So this is either initiating and planning. Now, if you know the answer, you can put it into the chat. Okay, David is there for planning. So is rolling wave planning initiating or planning? And I will say very well done. Rolling wave planning is going to be planning. Now, the key thing to remember that this is something you wanted to decide in the beginning. Now, what I mean by that, once you are in execution, you're not going to change your mind in terms of your delivery there. Jim, you would like to go next?
If I can get myself unmuted.
No problem.
A business case is initiating.
Are you really, really sure is initiating or maybe before that?
Yeah, I think it's you're not gonna have a you don't have a reason to have a project without a business case.
That is fully correct. So business case is happening before the project charter, before initiating, but that is an input. So without the business case, as you said very well, there is no project. All right.
Right.
But Jim, do we have a business case on Agile?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a reason for taking on the Agile process.
And is it, let's say, the same way measurable like on waterfall where we can, match it with the return on investment or the internal rate of return or,
No, because Agile is you're developing features as you sort of roll along and things change based on your backlog and requirements change. It's, Agile doesn't have a set scope statement.
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah.
No, you are absolutely on the right track, but the way how we can simplify this and make it stick, that you need to envision that Agile is value driven. Whatever the value will be, I will say the answer will be, it depends, because any given time the value can be different, whereas on waterfall, we go against requirements. That's why it's completely differently structured, because one is focused on requirements delivery, and then the other one is focused on the value, where the value can differ one to another any given time.
So, I mean, scope statement would be in your initiating.
Are you really sure?
Oh, if this is Agile, it wouldn't be there, but if this is waterfall, it would be.
That is waterfall, fully correct, but technically scope statement is happening in planning.
Planning, yes. Sorry.
Because on initiating, we do have a high level scope, but we have to go through this evolution of statement, WBS dictionary. So that's why the statement goes into planning. Okay, Jim?
Yep.
Yeah, very well done. Thank you very much for volunteering for this one. Now you guys can see, so this is not, let's say, super difficult. Anyone would like to take maybe another 2 or 3 as well? Any brave volunteers? Yes, Mr. Emily, you're next.
Accepted deliverables.
Yeah.
Closing.
Closing. Or just before closing, so technically accepted deliverable. So that is coming as part of the validate scope, which is done by the customer. And in terms of, so this is the place of this, the home of this is the accepted deliverable. And if it's a yes, so let's say a yes, then there is a straight line to close the project or a phase. So first we need to get it done in monitoring, controlling, and after that we can go into the closing phase. All right?
Okay. Quality audit. Monitoring and controlling.
Okay. Or what's your second best answer? Sorry to challenge you.
Executing.
Now, very well done. So we have 3 audits in the process. So we have 3 audits. So we have this one 3 times. Now, only the quality audit is in execution, whereas the risk audit and the procurement audit is in monitoring, controlling. And they are not doing anything else than trying to improving the process itself to make it shorter, make it easier, make it quicker. So technically, in the eyes of PMI, anything audit related is just a good thing. So everyone's looking forward. Let's have the audit. Audit will be just great. Okay. Can you do one more?
Stakeholder register.
Yeah.
Planning.
Almost. So this is going into initiating, because right next to the project, the assumption log, I also have a stakeholder register. So almost there, we try to identify those people as early as possible. Okay. Good job there. Thank you very much. Anyone would like to finish this remaining 3 or 4 off, maybe? Yeah, this one is slightly different than normally I have the agile waterfall comparison. So this one requires a little bit of a, this overall kind of view of the processes. So let's do the following then. So now let's go with cost forecast update. Now, is this going to be execution or is it going to be monitoring, controlling? So it should go execution or it should go monitoring, controlling. Now, what you guys think? Can you put it into the chat? That would be awesome. So David already sees monitoring, controlling. Now, one keyword you guys need to remember, the update. Now, anything update related is most likely, I would say 95% of the time will be monitoring, controlling. Why? Because by default, nothing to be updated. Because first you create a plan, and the idea is with the plans, the reason why it's so detailed, because the idea is that everything will stay as is, which means that to update any plan, that means we're already deviating from the plan. So the reason why we need to do any update is because we no longer, going as per the plan. So that's why I would say even just the keyword we're going there. Also, in terms of, I would say 2 more tricky one. One is the analogous estimating. Now, the trick with analogous estimating, that this is explained in planning, but the problem is it never used in planning, is always used in initiating, because this is a high-level estimate. And on planning, I do not need a high-level estimate. I'll give you a very good example. So you're doing an analogous estimate, which is a like-for-like estimation from a past projects you have executed. Now, what is the level of accuracy? Maybe 40%, maybe 50%, or even less. Now, can you imagine you go to your boss, hey, I'm created the plan, I'm estimating it, it's great. Now the boss will asking you how accurate this estimate is. And you're going to say 40%, you know exactly what's going to happen, which means that they will send you back and doing more or complete the estimate to make it plus minus 1%. So make the long story short, analogous estimate by the nature is a high level estimate. Therefore, we do not need this estimate to be done in planning. The only place I need that is going to be initiating when I have something on a high level. And that's why it's tricky, because PMI explained this as part of planning, but we no longer need it there. We only need it there in initiating itself. going into desert, what type of updates will not be in monitoring controlling? So you can have a very tricky question when it says that the updating the WBS. Normally, I mean, you can update the WBS without a cost of a change request in planning. So we need to see the surrounding environment on the question of what type of text we have there. But that's why I said, update, if you are in planning and the plans are not approved yet, you can do update whatever you like, whenever you like. Nobody will say a single word. But once you finished planning, any update will cost you on those plans a change request, which is something you would like to avoid all the time. All right. So by the interest of time, I think we're going to leave the rest as is, and we're going to focusing on the how to fill the PMP application. Now, this is something which is, I would say, a great topic. There is some explanation on the PMI website, also a PMI handbook. But at the end of the day, I would say this is one of the highly anticipated kind of question, or the biggest hurdle there, because how can I translate all my experience into the way how PMI wants it, so to ensure that I'm going to be accepted. Now, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to give you guys an explanation, including in the end, we're going to go through an example as well, but also just giving you a teaser that by end of this week on my newsletter, I'm going to create a step-by-step guide with multiple different type of experience examples